Hi, this is Mrs. Jajela here from Banstead Prep. I'm Head of English and this is a BPS parent information video, Reading in Prep, and the apps that we use, Accelerated Reader and MyON. The purpose of this information video is to give you a deeper understanding of how we progress children's reading in prep. To have a deeper understanding of the online resources we have available to support the children, so that is our Accelerated Reader and our MyON resources. To know how our library system works, so we'll give you a bit of information about that and how it links to those online resources and how you can support your children at home with their reading in an effective and useful way. So when children come into the prep part of the school in Year 3, they will go onto a system called Accelerated Reader. And this is an online reading program that helps teachers manage and monitor children's independent reading practice and helps track the children and celebrate their success. Once they're in Year 3, the idea is that children will then be independent readers and that they can then start to have sort of a wider choice of books that they can read. But within that, we want a system that helps make sure that they're reading books that are right for them and suitable for them. And Accelerated Reader does this for us. Nearly all the books in our school library are linked to Accelerated Reader. The purpose of it is, and what it offers us, is that it helps the children find books that are the right ability for them. It will encourage your child to read more because of all the different, the way they track their reading and the support they offer and how many words they've read. It's all good motivation for the children. And improve your children's reading ability because, as you know, the more they read, the better they will get. So how does it work? Well, it starts with something called the STAR test, which we do with the children in Year 3, but also children will continue to do STAR tests throughout their time at school, and we test them on a regular basis. At the start of the year, every student in Year 3 to 6 will take a STAR test, which is a computer-based test that measures a student's reading ability through a series of 34 questions. The test is adapted for every student, so depending on how they do in the test and how well they answer the questions, the test will either get progressively more difficult or the questions will become easier and it will adapt to your son or daughter. Once the children have completed the test, they are given what we call a ZPD score by their teacher. And the ZPD score is a numerical score, and it links to all the books in the library, and it helps them choose books that are the right ability for them. So the test should take about 20 minutes, and we encourage the children not to rush and take their time. We don't want them to guess answers. We want them to, if they know the answer, to click on the correct answer. It's multiple choice, so they click on the correct answer. If they don't know the answer to a question, we suggest it times out. This is because we want to get the most accurate reading age and reading score for the children, and that's the best way to do it, if they take their time and don't rush. Once they're done and they do this test completely independently, it runs like a normal assessment. They have to do it in silence. From that, we'll get their reading age and their ZPD number. Here are some examples of some questions that the children might come across. So you can see here at the top, we have got a sentence with a word missing. We call these a closed procedure. So the children have to choose the word that is most suitable for that particular sentence. Sometimes they'll get a short passage, and this will be a comprehension type question. It might be an inference question, or it could be a question about character or vocabulary, and the children will be given a choice of 3, sometimes 4 possible answers, and they choose the one that is most suitable. So as I've said, at the end of the test, your child will be given a ZPD score, and it will look something like this on the screen, say 3.2 to 4.6. It's 2 numbers, so it gives children a range of books they can read. So every book in the library has a number. It could be 3.5, for example. And what it does is it gives children the lowest number and the highest number. However, what we would say is that this is not something you have to stick to like glue. Children can read books that are a little bit above that, and children can read books that are a little bit below that. What it is guidance for the children. But if they wanted to read, say they got this ZPD score and they wanted to read a book that was 4.9, we're not going to say no to them. The ZPD scores can be accessed on their planners, but they can, or on their iPads. They can also access them on MyON, because MyON is linked to our accelerated reader system. So if the children are using MyON, their ZPD score will be on there. We do the STAR test 4 times a year. So the books in the library aren't just coded by a number for ability, but they're also coded by content and themes. So what is appropriate for a child of that age? And they're coded in 4 different ways. We have lower years, middle years plus, and upper years. So lower years, so all children can access the library, even those children in pre-prep and early years. Lower years books are for 5-year-olds and upwards. Middle years is for 8 and upwards. Middle years plus is for 9 and upwards, so they're just for our year 5 and 6 students, and then the upper year books are only for our year 6 students. Not all the books in the library are on AR. We have information books, we have books for our early year students, so that all children can access the library. But the accelerated reader books are predominantly for our year 3 to 6 students. So once the children have got their ZPD number and they've chosen a book from a library, they can then go on to read their book. And when they've finished reading their book, one of the ways we assess the children and how they are doing with their reading and how much they've understood of the book is they can take a quiz. The quiz normally has 10 questions on average. Some have 5, some of the harder books have 20, and there's normally 10 questions. We say to the children that a pass is 70%, but what we're accelerated reader system says the pass is 85. So, we go slightly lower, but we're looking for around 85%. So as the children read more books and they do more quizzes, what we're looking for from the children is an average score of 85%. There are some important rules for taking the quizzes. The book the child is quizzed on must be a book they've read in the last 2 weeks. It's not a memory test, it's a test for measuring reading. So sometimes children will try and quiz books they've read years ago. That doesn't really work, and they tend to get low scores. They shouldn't take their quiz until they finish reading the entire story. And quizzes must be done independently, not without any help. The idea is they do it on their own so that we get a true reflection of how the children are doing. So the STAR reading tests and the accelerated reader quizzes gives us lots of information about the children and how they're doing with their reading, their attainment, the progress they're making. So lots, for example, it might even tell us how many minutes a day your child is reading or how many words they've read. We discuss with the children how they're doing. We access the information and we discuss with their strengths and areas for development based on how they're doing with their quizzing. We reward the children for their reading using this system. So we have Word Millionaire certificates. They're given out in assembly to reward children. And they receive badges for every 1 million words they've read. The certificate starts at 250,000 words, which is quite a lot, but you'll be amazed at how well the children do and how motivating this is for them. Particularly, it's so impressive in assembly when we see those little year 3s get up with their 250,000 words, and then they move on to 500,000 words. And then once they get on to 1 million words, that's when they get their badges, which they wear with pride on their blazer. So if they've got if they've read 1 million words, they get their bronze badge. 2 million words, they get their silver. 3 million words, they get their gold. And we're looking at possibly some prizes for any child that gets to 5 million words. And this carries on over the 4 years. So if a child reads, say, 270,000 words in a year, that will continue then into, say, their next academic year, and that word count will continue and go up with them. And we have had children read beyond 3 million words. We've even had children read up to 6 million words, so that you'll be amazed at how well they do. We also have a Reader of the Month certificate, and for those children who made particularly good progress and effort with their reading, and they're also awarded a bookmark as well. And we also have other rewards and prizes that go on throughout the year. We also have our World Book Day, which happens in March, and we have our Scholastic reading book sale that happens in late September into October. So when children get into Year 3, we teach them how to use Accelerated Reader. And on Accelerated Reader, they can access how they're doing. And you can see this on their iPad when they go home. So you can look at the progress they're making. You can also get this on MyON as well. So when they log on to AR, they can visit the progress section. This is an example of what that looks like. This provides them with information on quizzing scores, total of books they've read, and their word count. So AR Bookfinder is a system where you can have a look and see whether a book that your child is reading at home is part of Accelerated Reader. So we don't just want them reading books from the library. Our library is well stocked and we have thousands of books, and we try and buy new titles every year, but your child might have a book at home that they're desperate to read. Now, AR Bookfinder, and you can see the website here, arbookfind.co.uk. You can use that to check whether a book that your child wants to read at home is on Accelerated Reader. Now, if it's a very new title, the chances are that it might not be on there yet. It normally takes about 6 months between a book being released to when it goes onto AR and that they have a quiz set up for that book. However, we would never stop a child from reading a new title. If it's a book that or a series that they're really interested in, they can always read that book. We will log it on their reading record as something that they've read and something to feel happy and pleased with that they've read that book. So MyON. MyON is something we introduced a couple of years ago. MyON is there to complement our library. It's also part of Accelerated Reader. It's part of the same company. It is a digital library with thousands of ebooks for students to choose from, and it does link with our school reading system, Accelerated Reader. The password and username for Accelerated Reader is the same as MyON, and the children in Year 3 in that first term will be taught how to use Accelerated Reader, and then they'll move on to learning how to use MyON. The digital books available can be tailored to the student's interests and allow them to read books independently, or you can read it together with your child at home, or sometimes, and I've done this before, it's part of my English lesson, and we look at a shared text together. They have a range of books. They do some very good non-fiction books. They also do adaptations of well-known classics. I've done Macbeth with my class before. So you'll find a wide range of books on there. What you won't find is those sort of novels that your children can access from the library. A lot of the books on here are books that are written specifically for educational purposes or for MyON. So here you can see what MyON looks like, a bit about what the children will see. Children in Years 4, 5 and 6 are familiar with MyON and have all been taught how to use it and have used it last year. Children in Year 3 will be taught, as I said, in the first term. So you can see here that this is an opening screen. You can see here the title Macbeth that they're reading and how long they've spent reading and what their goal is. So their goal is 20 minutes a day. But what we would say is with MyON that we want it to complement their reading novels. So they don't have to read it every day. It's there as an additional support, as an additional way of accessing other types of books. So here you can see how the children are able to choose books that are on a subject or an aspect that they find particularly interesting. What I would say is that, and one of the reasons we chose MyON is they have a good selection of non-fiction books. We don't just want children reading novels all the time, although that's really important. It's important that they look at other types of books, diaries, recounts, information text, explanation text, all those different types of genre and types of writing. But it's important that it's a balance, a little bit of MyON, because most of MyON is shorter text, but also continuing to read their books, their longer titles as well. So this page here gives you an example of a text that you might find on MyON. You can see here on the screen, this is taken from a desktop, but the children, what the children see on their iPads will be very, very similar. They can also listen to books on MyON, so every book has an audio version of it. So they can listen, and as they're listening, the words light up so the children can follow. There's a wide selection of books to suit all readers. There's lots of different tools on there. So if they don't know what a word means, they can click on the dictionary tool and it will tell them what the word means. They can make notes about their books. They can highlight keywords. These are some of the things that we do in class with the children, but it's something that the children can access from home as well. So how can you help with your child's reading at home? Ideally, we want to encourage our children to read daily, if possible. I know that we all have busy lives, but it's little and often is best. So we're not talking that they have to sit there for half an hour. It might just be 5-10 minutes. It's different for different children. We all read at our own pace and level. Some children will be happy to read for an hour. For other children, 5-10 minutes might well be enough. There's no right or wrong. When reading with your child, it's important that you do read with your child. I think sometimes we think that when they get to prep, they're fluent readers now and we don't need to sit and read with them. It's really important that you do. If they're able to read the book to you, fantastic. And you can pause and ask some questions. You can ask some questions about character or plot. Why do you think the characters behave in this way? Why do you think they said this? What do you think will happen next and why? It's just good to get them thinking about their books. You can also read with your children. One of the things that I often do with my children is they read a page, I read a page, particularly if they're reading quite a heavy book, quite an intense book. The idea is we want to make it enjoyable for them, and children just absolutely love listening to stories, particularly from their parents, and having that quality time with your child, even if it's just 10-15 minutes, but maybe doing some shared reading, they would really enjoy that. Listening to the stories is one of the great pleasures in life. So even when they're older, year 5 or 6, you can still read them a short story. You can still get out the short story books and read to them. They will love it. I hope you found this information video useful about how we develop the reading in the prep part of the school and the different systems that we use. If you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to email me and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you for listening to this video.